Hey, welcome back. As you can tell from the change in my shirt, it hasn't changed. I've got two guitars that I needed to do string changes on. If you watched my 6-hole string video, I alluded to this guitar, and I showed it briefly, but this is how to change and string up the bridge of a 12-hole guitar. Now, first and foremost, let me start an internet firestorm, such as it is. I don't like 12-hole bridges. I don't think that they do anything, and mathematics will back this one up. Feel free to reach out to me, and we'll go through it, okay? But break angle, as long as it's long and short of it, as long as it's more than 6.5 degrees, doesn't really matter. But what does matter is the longevity, and I see far too many 12-hole bridges that have cracked in half because of the way that the holes are drilled. Now, this one is actually done properly, where the holes are staggered. So a quick check is if the holes are in a straight line or ever so slightly staggered, where the top of the one hole and the bottom of the other hole are within the same plane, then I would avoid that guitar personally, and I tend to do that in my shop because I know that that has a potential of cracking. And once that cracks, you have to make a new bridge. That's my issue with 12 holes from a maker and repairman standpoint. From a string standpoint, I can't tell you how many string dings I see, and people are always taking some sort of a plastic thing, taping business cards or something like that, trying to prevent the whip of a 12 hole. And now these strings were put on by the maker of this guitar, and as you can tell, he is also afraid of the string pull because this is a gorgeous guitar. This is a Yan Li, available on my website. Let's say promo code STRING gets you $500 off of this. Let's change the strings, okay? They've been on a little while. The basses are a little bit dead. This guitar's been getting a lot of play. I love it. Got to get our little bit of oil. And like all guitars, it gets one drop here, one drop at the top, one drop at the bottom, and that's enough to keep these running for the life of the guitar and then some. After I've done this, so blot your tuning machines, because you need an adequate amount of oil, not too much. And oil should be done once every 6 months to once a year. I do it to every single guitar that comes into my shop because I don't know how often it happens, and it's very, very cheap insurance. So, that said, I just took the strings down. That's all the dispersal it needs, so I'm going to blot right off the bat, and you can see I took off a little bit of oil. It's not much. Don't need to take off much. When doing a 12-hole bridge, I like to... There's, 4 ways of doing this. So there's like this, where all of these strings are running in this direction. There's some where they converge. There's some where they diverge, or there's some where they all go to the side. And yes, it matters. It isn't a string it however you feel, because if we were to take this first string and put it to the other hole, you will see up here that it is falling off of the fingerboard, and we don't want that. Conversely, if we did the same with our 6th string, our 6th string would be way over here. And again, so it would be very weird to have your strings essentially like this. What I do is my photo app is filled with pictures of bridges because I need to know in which direction this goes. And this one's easy because it all goes out. Now that I've made a note of this, I'm going to put on a new set of strings. Strings I'm putting on today are a set of the Optima 270 medium tensions. These are probably some of my favorite strings on the market. They're like the logical extension of Hanabox, but also they're cheaper. So I like these. There's going to be a link down in the description. So first things first, as always, we're going to deaden our string ends over here, and either make sure that there's nothing over here, or if you want to snap somebody, make sure they're standing over there. Have fun with it. Oh! Oh, I suppose I should say that one of the theoretical advantages of a 12-hole bridge is that they are quicker to unstring than a standard 6-hole. Potentially, for the bases, absolutely. They are really easy to undo on the bases, but they hold really, really well. On the trebles, not so much. I think it actually ends up working out about the same. Now, 18-hole bridges, that's a whole other ball game, and let's just say that I'm not a big fan. I'm a traditionalist, as you can probably tell. I like 6-hole bridges. Even from the original set of strings from this maker, you can see that he's got this knot-like thing under here. And ideally, you should be able to, if you do it right, you should be able to take the string and give it a tug in the opposite direction, and it will release. But the way that this is, it's completely going down. These are not going to unroll due to friction. So tying knots at the end of these is not going to keep anything from happening. So now that the strings are off, we're going to polish the fingerboard because that's what we do. We got to have a shiny fingerboard. With a 12-hole, if you so choose, you can tie it like a regular bridge, like a typical 6-hole. There's nothing wrong with that. Other than the appearance, which, you know, as much as I say I don't like the 12-hole, I like the way that they look because it is clean and elegant. Alright, so here we go. This is how I, professional luthier, string a 12-hole bridge. I like to start in the hole that the string comes through, okay, to go up to the nut. And remember, if we go into the wrong hole, it's going to be completely off of the guitar. So that's not good, all right? So be conscious of that. And if you need to, refer back to that picture you took on your phone. So I like to go through. What we're going to do is come around through here, under, and then back around the string, and then through the other loop. So that way, as we pull it all together, we're left with essentially a figure 8 on the bottom, where everything is pulling against itself and cinching against itself. And then also, we're going to leave as much of this as we can, or at least a reasonable amount, because this is going to be our canary in the coal mine. As this pulls in, if this slips, this gives us that time to catch it and retie the knot. But in using this method, it's been a long time since I've had one slip. And by slip, I mean have the tail get shorter, not actually impact the top, because I've never had that happen. And now, it's just as before, where we're going to take the string, run it through, and again, we'll give it our 2 twists on the treble side. Now, for the bass strings, these are significantly easier. And by the way, no, I am not going to thread these all together either. Same issue as the 6-hole. I don't like threading strings because you can't take them apart. You can't take one string off. So, with this one, we're going to feed it through, and again, we're going from the front, or just behind the saddle, out the back of the bridge, opposed to taking the long way around. And we're going to double check, make sure that we're using the right hole, because we don't want to do things weird. We're going to loop it over, and then these are super simple. I just like to make sure that the loop comes over itself after it folds over. That's very simple, and again, not looping that. For the other treble strings, we're going to be making just that little knot. I do the same knot for all 3 strings. As I had mentioned in the other, there's no need to go 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 4. It's not going to pull off your bridge, okay? Again, if if that were to happen, the guitar was not built properly. As I had mentioned previously, the bass strings, they have two ends. You got the floppy end, and then you've got the end that you should be using. This floppy end, that's garbage. Please don't use it. Oops. See? Gotta be careful. I almost did the thing that I wasn't supposed to do, which is use the wrong hole. We're gonna stretch out the strings, and all we have to do for that, and no, this will not pull off your bridge. It will not change your neck angle. It's not gonna pull up anything, alright? It's not gonna happen. We're gonna tune the whole guitar up a half a step. Okay? As that's all we have to do. And we're gonna let this sit a half step up for an hour. And by that point in time, it'll be almost completely stretched out, about 75-80% of it. And at that point in time, that's when I like to clip these string ends, because I don't want all this rattling on the top, and it looks ugly. But I want to make sure that nothing's going to move. And I'm not seeing any... Actually, I take that back. I'm going to cut it now, because I am confident in my knots. If you're not, give it an hour, you'll know if it moves. Look at that. I'm not putting any fire next to my guitar, because to me, I'm like Frankenstein. Fire, bad. And then up here, I'm just going to give it a little haircut as well. And with that, you've changed your strings. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate you watching. Just some guy on the internet. If you want, support me on Patreon. Also, for $500 off of a deposit on one of my guitars, which also comes off of the final price, use the promo code Luthier on my website. And like I said, for $500 off this guitar, go ahead and use the promo code STRINGS, because this is a guitar that way punches above its class. It's tremendous. I couldn't recommend it highly enough. So until next time, thank you.